returning to another series I've covered before with Nekketsu Kunio-kun, the very first Kunio game. Like last episode's Double Dragon 2, I'll be playing both the arcade original through the Arcade Archives line and its NES adaptation with the Double Dragon and Kunio-kun Retro Brawler bundle. This first game has a very simple story, with Kunio taking on many rival gangs who are all targeting his friend Hiroshi. Why so many people hate this kid is never explained. So when we start the game, guys in blue from Hanazono High School are seen punching out Hiroshi and Kunio chases after them. As you can see, I chose to play the Japanese version to get the characters looking like their actual selves instead of the localized versions. The game plays like Double Dragon 2 as well in terms of control scheme, with a left attack and right attack. The attack in the direction you're facing is punches, and the attack in the opposite direction is a kick. I can also do a jumping kick. For this first stage I have only two different enemy types. There's Toru, the guys with hair. They are basic with nothing special about them. Then there's Akira. These are the bald ones who tried to hit me with sticks. Thanks to their totally bald heads and the fact that the white line on their mouths meant to represent teeth just looks like a white moustache to me, I kept thinking there was just a group of creepy old bald men hanging around with teenagers for some reason. When knocking people down I can also get on top and punch their heads in to make them stay down. And like most beat 'em ups, when I get close I can grab an enemy to either deliver more hits or to throw them. Once I take out about half of them, the gang leader and level boss, Ricky, shows up. Yeah, the player 2 of the series started off as its very first boss. He's more aggressive than the others and likes to grab me to deliver a few free punches to my face. Thanks to not being used to the game yet, he easily defeats me, along with that cowardly Toru just hiding up his arse the entire time. I have just the one life, so I have to start again. Next time I easily defeat Ricky by using jump kicks and just staying out of his range. After the victory jingle, Hiroshi is then seen punched out by the pink wearing guys from the Yokohama Funky Gang. Stage 2 starts with me being driven at by motorcyclists. I've got to time hitting them off their bikes without getting ran over myself. These first two, the guys wearing bandanas, are called Takeshi. Luckily, punching one straight off his bike is an instant KO, but there are more. The timing on actually hitting these guys is really strange and something I never got used to. But once they're all dealt with, more Takeshis with pipes move in, along with Noboru, the guys wearing masks. But the thing is, I now have 6 new enemies to face at once after being weakened from all those bikes driving through me. And so I get defeated when one of them grabs me from behind and another punches me to death. Good thing for me that gaining 30,000 points grants me another life. I easily take down 3 of them, which gets the boss, Shinji, to get involved. Shinji has a spin kick, a very strong punch, and can grab me like Ricky. I just can't get many hits in without being cracked from behind, so I try to separate the remaining henchmen and deal with them one at a time. I take out 2 more so there's no one to hang behind me, but the remaining 2 beat me down. While replaying stage 1, I find I can easily get rid of a few enemies by knocking them out of the arena. It makes it easier to get them out of the way before Ricky can reach me. Back in stage 2 I discover the running punch, which helps me get through a crowd well enough, but I still lose my extra life. I once again manage to reduce the enemy group to just Shinji and a Takeshi, but the Takeshi's pipe is what keeps managing to hit me during my attack animations, wiping me out again. After that I keep getting defeated on stage 1 for a while. When I get back 10 minutes later, I'm able to actually ring a guy out, knocking him into the river on the left side of the stage. Doesn't help me though, as Shinji joins in again and I die getting my knee smashed in with a pipe. Next time the amazing jump kick strategy just works and everyone lines up to walk into my kicks. Shinji is far more manageable with no one to back him up and he goes down easily. For stage 3, students from Taiyo Academy cave in Hiroshi's face with a handbag. Maybe it's all actually Hiroshi's fault. Maybe we're looking at a toxic friendship and Hiroshi keeps instigating fights with the intention of making Kunio fight them for him. Ever considered that? So our 2 new enemies for this stage are Kumiko, the ones in white shirts with chain whips, then there's Kaio, the one with a mask on who swings a bag around. So now we've reached a point where all enemies have better range than me thanks to using weapons. I managed to take out 4 of them and am even lucky enough that when Misuzu, the leader, comes charging in, I kick her down without even intending to. You can't get much distance between yourself and Misuzu as despite her size, she can run faster than Kunio. She also has a slap and a pair of strong grab attacks. Jump kicks don't work as she can just swap me out of it, so I end up dying again. Next time I try a different kind of jump kick. A running jump kick into a wall will have me jump off it and do a flying kick. Doesn't stop me getting grabbed and slapped though. No matter what, I just keep getting killed by Misuzu and can't figure her out. It takes several deaths before I figure out a good strategy. I run away for that tiny extra bit of distance before she catches up, then I stop and use a kick while she's running. This works really well and I finally take her down. Finally, for the last stage we see Hiroshi getting stabbed in the dick by members of the Sanwakai crime organisation. This level is a fucking nightmare. It's filled with all these unnamed bodyguards wielding ice picks. I start well, making them all gather in one space and then just keep running punching through them all. This works really well and I take the first 3 out, then punch the last one down. Taking them all out has me enter the Samwakai office. There's more bodyguards and the leader of the organisation, Sabu, gets involved. Then I take a single hit and die. Yeah, those ice picks are an instant kill. You have to go through the entire stage including boss fight without getting hit. It turns out I was just lucky the first time, as next time I get stabbed by the first group. After several stabbings I make it back to the office. For some reason the only extra life you ever get is the one for 30,000 points, and then no more. Sabu is another pain as he just uses a gun for his instant kill. At this point this is where I decided, fuck it, I'm using the suspend save option. It's either that or this game never gets a video on this show. I was never 100% against ever using these, but I'd rather not use them too often. That said, I'm not willing to put up with this awful design decision made 35 years ago to scam people out of more money like this. Just this fuck you start again that most of the time feels luck based. Basically, I'll only be using these if it's for the sake of my sanity, like the next video after this one, or if I greatly dislike the game, which also applies here. At this point I learned that you must never get on top of a downed opponent to punch them, as that just ensures an instant death. The strategy I try is just running at one at a time with a punch and wait for them to die, but that still gets me killed as it's easy to end up running into a bullet. Let's skip the half hour I spend loading saves every 20 or so seconds and just show the stars aligning and me finishing the final battle. Outside, fellow students are waiting for me, including Hiroshi who has recovered from his dick stabbing. The game then loops back to the beginning, but whatever, I doubt I'm playing this game again. I don't know if you noticed, but I didn't like this game. I find it too basic to really get into for the first 3 levels, and then it just turns on the spite for the last level. That final stage alone dragged the game down from a bland but inoffensive to a fuck this game level. The only reason this game isn't my least favourite beat 'em up covered on this show so far is because Master System Altered Beast was so terrible. But of course we've still got another version to talk about. So here's Nekketsu Renegade Kunio-kun on the NES. As you can guess by the title, this is the Retro Brawler Bundle's new localization as opposed to the original Renegade version the NES got in the 80s. This time, instead of Hiroshi constantly getting his ass kicked, he's just kidnapped and Kunio has to brawl his way through all the gangs to find him. So starting with level 1 difficulty, the first stage is still the same environment, but with the downgraded graphics you'd expect. Less enemies can be seen on screen, so we're down to 3 here with more running on screen after one is defeated. Akira was also removed, but we have Toru variants with sticks in his place. If it looks like I'm playing worse than I did on arcade, that's because I actually recorded this version first, but apart from that, gameplay carries over pretty much the same. This time, instead of Ricky coming out of the train to take me on, I get on the train and have to take on another wave inside the car. This is like the NES Double Dragon ports, more an adaptation of the arcade game than a straight port. During this segment, a pea appears in the air. Grabbing it completes the bundle's bronze achievement, Blow It Away. The item is a short boost in attack power where punching sends the enemies flying away. Once I take out these guys, another door opens and I face Ricky on the other side of the train. This should be easier since he's on his own in this version, but since this is my first time playing, I get killed. But I actually start the game with 3 lives, letting me get my ass kicked again right away. I lose my 3rd life the same way too, meaning I'm starting again already. And next time I lose my last life getting knocked out of the ring. I keep getting him down to an empty life bar, but he just keeps winning in the end. But I eventually spam enough running punches to take him down. Stage 2 is also in the same area as the arcade. We only have Takeshi's this time. After Ricky, a load of generic enemies aren't much of a threat to me. Well, that is until they just keep spawning in and start wearing me down. I slowly get them down to just 1, and it's clear I'm about to make it until he brains me with a pipe and finishes me. This was the Crisis Core ending of 1987. I do even worse next time and game over. When I make it back, I just barely defeat the last one before I run out of health. This time the order of events was swapped, as the bikers come in after the normal enemies instead of before. They're also a lot easier to knock off their bikes and only one appears on screen at a time. But after doing well, one bike shows up and I guess my brain turned to mush before I kept attacking too early or ramming myself into it until I died. I then refused to get better again and died twice more for the game over. But next time I make it back and take them all out, taking the last bike for myself. I get an entirely new section speeding down the road and kicking more Takeshis off their bikes. Honestly, this is probably the most fun part of either game in this video. It doesn't last very long though, and once I reach the end of this road, I'm taking on Shinji. The running punch is his biggest weakness, and he goes down far easier than Ricky. On stage 3, Kumiko was the only enemy to make it over, but there are both chain wielders and bag wielders. I do quite well here and even manage to clear all of them out without dying. The bar, Kado, opens up, so I go inside to take on more of them. I take them all out and Misuzu is just skipped and I move straight onto stage 4. Now this is a huge improvement over the original stage 4. It's just more Torus, meaning the arsehole with the instant kill ice picks were cut entirely. But even then, there's still a lot of them and I just barely defeat the last one with an empty life bar. But then 2 doors open and I don't know the correct choice, but I take the left door. This gives me 2 Takeshis and 3 doors. Of course that's just 2 Takeshis at once, more will still come in when one dies until I've defeated them all. When the doors open, I take the middle one. This was bad as it puts me back into the bar from stage 3. Not just that area, it literally put me back into stage 3, as I find when I defeat the Kumiko group and end up starting stage 4 again. This time I take the right door, which puts me in a room with Toru and 2 doors. When they're dealt with, I take the right door to find that this is where Misuzu was hiding the entire game. Dash punching is far more effective on her here than on the arcade. I just barely defeat her, but then a second one turns up. I somehow take her down without getting hit and take the right door. This puts me in an exact copy of the room I was just in. The second Misuzu ends up killing me. In fact, she takes out all my lives. Next time in the first room, I go through the left door. This pits me against 2 Rickys at once. It goes badly for me. Several tries later, I get through them. I take the left door into a room with 3 more doors and Takeshi speeding around on a bike indoors. I kick him off and take the middle door into a different room with a few more bikers. I then take the right door, which puts me against Sabu. Like the arcade version, I'm using suspend saves for Sabu because he keeps his instant kills. The only rule I had is that I wouldn't let myself save mid-battle, as I at least wanted to do the entire fight uninterrupted. Honestly, the best but most dangerous strategy is to try stun-locking him to death with jump kicks. It works well, but if you mess up, there is no way of dodging his gunshot. So it only takes 2 attempts with said strategy to take him out and free Hiroshi. We get the handshake like in the arcade, and I get the silver achievement, Righteous Badass, but there's still a gold one remaining, so I start the game again on level 2 difficulty. There's very little interesting to talk about for this one, it's more enemies and stronger enemies. For example, the first room of the right building in stage 4 is a pair of Shinji instead of Toru. And at one point I even have to fight 2 Misuzus at the same time, and that's followed by 3 Shinji at once. And then when I defeat Sabu, a second one comes in. Once again, jump kicking is what gets me the win. That was about an hour and a half of dying I just spared you. For this I get the Don't Underestimate Me achievement and the game is done. I definitely like this game more than the arcade original. Not enough for me to actually like the game, but enough for it to place a few spaces higher in the ranking. The coaster had to be made for technical reasons, while making for a less technically impressive game made for a slightly more fun one as it also cut a lot of the bullshit. That and just cutting the ice pick dickheads was an automatic win for the NES version alone.